Welcome back to Family Law Jersey Style. I'm here with our special guest, Jeffrey Landers, who is a divorce financial advisor. And you just handed me a present, so thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
It is Jeffrey's book, which is Divorce, Think Financially, Not Emotionally. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So for our viewers, what is a divorce financial advisor?
Well, what we do, we work exclusively with women, and what we do is help them figure out how their assets should be divided, how to work on their financial affidavit, figuring out what their expenses are, what their assets are, liabilities, income, and we work hand in hand with their attorney to come up with the most advantageous way to divide those assets. One of the important solutions that we bring to the table is figuring out how they're going to be in the future, not just right now, but 5, 10, 15, even 20 years down the road. So we do future projections. We do a lot of what-if scenarios. Should they keep the house? Should they wait 2 or 3 years until the youngest child goes off to college? Should they keep the retirement as opposed to cash in the bank?
Sure.
And when you look at these things, you know, on a piece of paper, you may not know how things are going to be 5 or 10 years.
Absolutely.
And of course you have to take into account the tax implications.
A number of clients who come to see me are oftentimes fearful to move forward toward the divorce, even if they really want it, because of the financial unknown.
Right.
You know, and having somebody involved, much like yourself, a financial advisor, to give you the support to understand the dynamic of what to expect from their real financial perspective is tremendously valuable.
Well, and it's very interesting that you mention that, because we have numerous clients that come. She's thinking about possibly getting a divorce, but as you said, her big concern is, am I going to be okay?
Sure.
You know, can I take care of myself? Can I take care of the kids? So even before they bring a lawyer into the mix, they'll come directly to us and say, can you work out the numbers and just give me a sense of where I might be?
A woman who is, for instance, in your situation, coming to you with these potential alimony scenarios can learn the tax implications and ultimately be able to find how it is, in fact, projected into the future and what will be available as sort of a net dollar in the pocket and for how long.
Well, absolutely. And typically what you'll find is, in most cases, not all cases, because we have more and more clients where the woman is the majority wage earner. So things are changing, but in many, many instances, either the woman hasn't been working or there's a huge disparity between her husband's income and her own, but they have a certain marital lifestyle, which means post-divorce, if she's going to live a somewhat comparable lifestyle, her expenses are going to exceed her income.
One party might be intent on keeping the house for the stability perhaps of an easy transition for the children, but not necessarily be able to afford to continue to maintain the house because now the money of the family is divided.
That's exactly right.
You see that a number of times?
All the time. I mean, invariably, most women, because of the children and friends, you know, divorce is disruptive enough to the kids. So the last thing you want to have to do is start moving and take them away from their school and their friends. But the reality is, and I tell my clients all the time, it's a very illiquid investment, your house. You know, you can't go to the grocery store and say, don't worry about the payment for this, I have $100,000 of equity in my house. You can't put food on the table with that. And of course, a house is a black hole. Okay, you've got to pay your real estate taxes, you have to pay mortgage, you have to pay upkeep, repairs. I mean, if you have to replace the roof, that could be $10,000, $15,000 right there. So you don't want to be, you know, house rich and cash poor. You still have to be able to pay your bills.
I find that a lot of clients tend to overlook the anticipated capital gains aspect of the house. So if the house had been maintained for some 25 years and they're maintaining the house or retaining the house, but expect that they might sell it in a couple of years after one child graduates and then they can move on, they have to be mindful of that particular capital gains aspect.
Absolutely. In fact, every aspect of the financial part of the divorce, you have to take into account all the tax implications. If you're dividing a stock portfolio in half, what's the cost basis of the stock you're getting? You know, if your husband's a little wily and he keeps all the stock, you know, that was recently purchased and he sells it, he might have zero or no capital gains. But if you end up with all the stock from, you know, 10 years ago that's appreciated, you may think you're getting X dollars, but you're going to get, 20 or 25% less than what you thought after you pay taxes on it. Same deal with the house.
Do you find that everybody going through a divorce, from your perspective, could benefit from a financial advisor at one point or another?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And the reason why, it really depends on your situation. I mean, if you have limited assets and you have not a very complex situation, I mean, we charge a minimum fee of $4,000. Okay, if your assets are $100,000, I don't want to take 4% of your assets. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to do that. But in cases where there's closely held businesses, maybe there's stock options, restricted stock, you have multiple pieces of real estate, not only your home, a vacation home, commercial property. The more complicated and convoluted the situation, the more valuable our services come into play.
Jeffrey, thank you. I really genuinely appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time and providing all of this really useful information to our viewers.
Well, thanks for having me back.